Hello, my name is Robin Lake. I'm a clinician at the Family Service Center, and I'm happy and grateful to be with you here today. You've met Dr. Renee Dominguez, our Executive Director, in previous weeks, and we're both delighted to talk with you about coping during COVID through this wonderful partnership with the Village of Northbrook. Today, I'm going to very briefly review the things that we've covered previously and extend our learning by talking about gratitude, a very useful tool in the coping toolbox. So grab your notebook or whatever helps you to track your learning during this process. And let's start off by remembering the concepts from the last few weeks. The first week was the cognitive triangle. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected and influence each other. We can consciously choose to change one, which will change the others. Next week, you learned some common thinking errors that get in our way and ways to push back on those errors. Then Dr. Dominguez talked about worry and ways to catch yourself worrying, pause, reflect, and choose a strategy to manage worry and anxiety that can often occupy our thoughts. You learned about boundaries and how we can thoughtfully protect ourselves from becoming overwhelmed and depleted. And last week we learned about self-talk and using compassion to choose how we speak to ourselves. Today our focus is on gratitude, the ways we notice, lean into, and enjoy the goodness in our lives, goodness that we can sometimes overlook or take for granted. Gratitude is not easy to define. It has been thought of as an emotion, an attitude, a virtue, a personality trait. We know it when we see it, and we know it when we feel it. A lot of psychological research has been done on gratitude, and it turns out that all of our parents, grandmothers, teachers, coaches were right. It's a really great idea to notice what we have and be grateful. Grateful people tend to be happier, more peaceful, sleep better, they're generally healthier, and they have stronger and more fulfilling relationships. They even live longer. It's important to note, though, that being grateful for what we have, for who we are, and the people in our lives is not about putting a happy face on pain. Gratitude allows us to still be honest about the tremendous loss that many of us have felt this year, about sadness, and about lack. When we're missing something that we need, gratitude isn't going to make up for that, but it allows us to notice what else is still available and still good. So, some other benefits of gratitude often show up when we consciously push back on some of the things that can get in our way of being grateful. What gets in the way? One thing is that we might not notice. We might take for granted or overlook good experiences, beneficial qualities in ourselves, things that we enjoy. And often, comparison steals our joy. We can be experts at turning something good into not good enough. When we sometimes feel like our things aren't good enough, like the car I drive is just a car, it's not a status symbol, but it is a reliable car. And it smells like my daughter's lotion because she puts it on as we're driving to school. And it makes me smile when I smell that. And it gets me to where I need to go. And we might not feel like we're good enough. Like, I can't notice and be grateful for my ability to be a good friend because I'm not always generous. I don't always pay close attention to what the other person is saying. And we might feel like our experiences aren't good enough. Like, I can't be grateful for a hike at Skokie Lagoons. It's not like I hiked Machu Picchu or anything. Or I can't notice how awesome my Subway sandwich is because it's not like I went out to a fancy restaurant with my whole family. For many of us, we can dismiss our own value and we can hold ourselves to ridiculous standards. No one can be 100% their most amazing self all the time. And yet, we still have qualities that are worth appreciating. Sometimes we don't take our own well-being very seriously. We can steal our own joy and gratitude. And as we talked about last week, you are always with you, and you are the only person who can live your life and the only person who can play the many roles that you play in your family, with your friends, with your coworkers. Another thing that sometimes gets in the way is that we feel like we have to wait for happiness. We have to wait to value ourselves until we accomplish something or hit a certain milestone, like when we get a promotion, or, I'll be grateful for myself when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be grateful when I finish organizing all the papers, when I graduate college, when I clean the bathroom, and on and on. This is not true. You have the same number of minutes each day. You can notice the good right now. And you are always enough of a reason to celebrate and notice the good. You do not have to wait. So, another benefit of gratitude is that it gives us the opportunity to push back on those messages that we don't count, that we're not good enough, that we have to wait. No, we can notice the goodness, we can express gratitude, and we can live the benefits of using our minds for our own advantage. So, how do we do that? How do we practice gratitude? Well, it starts with noticing and then kind of savoring, leaning in to those positive moments. Some people call this, taking time to smell the roses. Often, a great way is to be very specific and notice the plentiful and naturally occurring goodness, like seeing sparkles in the snow, seeing leaves in the fall. Nature is an endless source of being able to notice the good. Noticing what you appreciate about other people. Almost every day, if you interact with people, there will be something that they do that is meaningful to you and adds some value to your life. So we can express through thoughts, like thinking about what we're grateful for, words, sharing with others what we're grateful for in ourselves and in our world, but also with them, and behaviors by sort of writing things down. A lot of people have a practice of 3 good things. What are 3 good things that happened today? What are 3 things that you're grateful for? You might want to have some go-to phrases like, I can always count on being grateful for books. I love to read. Being grateful for music and my favorite band, U2. I can always count on being grateful for fruit. It's my favorite food. So you can consider choosing a time of day, like as you're falling asleep. And you can also, make it in the morning. And you can involve others, like ask them what they're grateful for. So when we pause and reflect about gratitude during COVID, what are you grateful for? What holds you back from practicing gratitude? When do you notice your gratitude? And how can you increase your ability to be grateful? And your plan of action, take a minute to plan how to increase your awareness of goodness and your expressions of gratitude. What's going to be your go-to phrase? What might work for you? Consider committing to a plan of action. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you next week.